Regardless of his last years with Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel is and will remain one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time. He is, after all, a 4-time world champion that has 53 wins and that has stood on pole 57 times in his career. Also, he is Ferrari's third most successful driver in terms of race wins, having crossed the finish line first 14 times for the Italian squad. So Sebastian has clearly already established himself as one of the legends of the sport, and generally, he's a really nice character that I think everybody will enjoy to see racing after 2020, as he's going to make his Aston Martin debut next season. However, there is still a lot of debate over this partnership, and the most important question, in my opinion, is will Vettel and Aston Martin make it work and win a world championship together? In this episode, I'm going to give you guys my top 5 reasons why I think Sebastian can triumph again with Aston Martin, but firstly, I would like to ask you to give a like to this episode and subscribe to my channel if you like this kind of content and you want to receive more. Number 1. Seb will get a car suited to his driving style. It's clear that this year's Racing Point is a close copy of last year's Mercedes, even though they are starting to move away from their initial design. However, being such a similar car to last year's Mercedes brings lots of advantages. Firstly, I think that Racing Point have made a good job by taking advantage of the, let's say, unclear regulations and by making their car so similar to last year's title-winning machine. This way, they got a much quicker car than they would have probably got if they had made their own design, but also they now have a very solid base to work on. Also, last year's Mercedes was well known for the impressive amount of downforce it had through the corners, while at the same time managing to keep a very good straight line speed, and the RB20 also seems to be very close to that level of performance. This doesn't mean that Seb will actually get a car capable of challenging Mercedes straight away from next year, as this is a medium-term project, but he will probably get a very handy and very responsive car to the corners, as next year's cars will technically be this year's cars with some updates on them. And this, in my opinion, will advantage Vettel very much, as he needs to be really confident with the car through the corners in order to drive it to the absolute limit. His driving style requires a lot of downforce and rear end stability from the car, and I really think that next year's Aston Martin will be able to offer him that, and that he and the team will therefore be able to efficiently further develop together the car, and that leads me to the next reason. Number 2. The momentum on their side. Even though the 2022 cars will be completely different from this and next year's cars, the fact that Aston Martin made a huge leap this year in terms of performance with their 2019 Mercedes design will still be very beneficial for the team. They have certainly learned a lot and will continue to learn from this Mercedes-inspired design, and all this knowledge will surely help them to make a strong 2022 car. Also, now that they have signed Vettel for the following seasons, they will be able to build a car around the experience of a 4-time world champion. This means that Seb will finally get a car that suits his driving style, but also that Aston Martin will probably get a very accurate feedback from him because of his experience, and therefore will be able to improve their car at a really high rate and keep the momentum on their side. Number 3. Less pressure. I think that there is no other team in Formula 1 and motorsport in general that puts more pressure on its drivers than Ferrari. The Italian media, which we know how harsh can be sometimes, the tifosi, and the duty to protect the incredible legacy that Ferrari has in the sport, all these put an enormous pressure on a Ferrari driver's shoulders. In my opinion, this pressure to perform is also more or less responsible for the mistakes Seb did at the end of 2018 and 2019 when he was fighting for the championship. However, at Aston Martin, there certainly won't be such case. Racing Point are still a small team compared to the others, so there aren't very much expectations from them to perform from the outside. This might be the perfect environment for Seb to work in, as we have already seen at Red Bull that he performs better when he has a calm and protective team that he knows he can trust around him. Number 4. New rules. As you already know, the famous budget caps will be introduced to Formula 1 from next year, and the major car changes will have to wait for another more season to happen. And Aston Martin are going to be one of the most advantaged teams by these new rules. They already are well known for doing a great job with their cars on a tight budget. When you look at a team like Ferrari, it represents the exact opposite to Racing Point in this regard, as Ferrari have done so little with a huge budget, while the pink cars have done so much with a more normal budget. Also, their team still has a lot fewer employees than most teams on the grid, which will have to reduce their number of members from next year. And even more than that, they are going to have a new factory from 2022, so with the new facilities that they are going to have and with the fast and efficient working style they've used us with, I think that there is indeed an enormous chance for them to capitalize on the new rules and build a great car for 2022, capable to challenge and even beat the top teams, which will probably be a lot more affected by the new budget caps. Number 5. Experience and desire. In one of my previous episodes, I've explained why I expect a close fight between Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren and Aston Martin from 2022, and my opinion hasn't changed since then. I've also said there that Vettel's vast experience in the sport might help Aston Martin have a very rapid growth. That's why I think that if the gaps between the teams will be so small, Seb's experience in working with his engineers and mechanics may prove to be the one thing that will give Aston Martin an edge over the others. Also, I'm sure that Seb is more motivated than ever to make this Aston Martin project work after all these hard years with Ferrari, and there's nothing that will satisfy him apart from a 5th World Championship added to his belt. So guys, these have been the 5 reasons why I think Vettel could win his 5th world title with Aston Martin. Please tell me in the comments if you agree with me or if you have any other reasons apart from this. I hope you enjoyed watching. Here was F1 to you, and I'll see you in the next episode.